What's going on, everybody? All my YouTube friends, welcome back to the prep series. I'm now 21 weeks out, and in terms of changes from last week, I have dropped about 3 pounds from where I started the diet right at 270 flat. As of today, I'm 267, so I'm down 3 pounds. That was from the initial wave of changes that my coach, Justin Compton, made. Checked in with him, sent him some pictures, sent him my weight, general feedback, everything is good. It's been a big relief taking less time to eat and not sitting at a bowl of food for 45 minutes or an hour. The meals are much smaller now compared to what they were, so it just takes much less time. I wouldn't say that I'm hungry. I'm not hungry yet. But it's been really nice. It's been nice, as crazy as it sounds, to be back to doing cardio, because I had not been doing any intentionally at the direction of my coach. I wasn't even going for walks or tracking steps. All of that was in an effort to kind of desensitize me to any type of metabolic training. That way, a little bit would go a long way once we started the prep. And I think that's been the case. That's been the return early on. So I'm doing 4 sessions of 25 minutes on the stairs. That hasn't changed from the first update. Level-wise, it's tough to say because I have a Stairmaster at home that is a little bit different than a commercial unit. It's intentionally smaller. It's intentionally made for someone's home gym, so to speak. But I've tracked it, and I'm doing about 60 steps per minute. So whatever level that might come out to on a commercial unit, level 5 or level 6, something like that. And then separate from that machine cardio, I do 7,000 steps per day. So I don't even wear my step tracker when I do the stairs. And then I get 7,000 at least separate of that. One habit that I've tried to keep in is that after my last carb meal of the day, even if I'm at or even over my step total for the day, I will still go out and do a pretty substantial walk after that final carb meal. And I can't take credit for that idea. I got that from listening to a podcast. I don't remember the gentleman's name now, and I apologize to him. But the guy that won the overall at USA's this past year talked about every single day in prep, he did a 40-minute walk after his final carb meal to just clear and lower any of the insulin in his blood. And I think that made sense to me. So I've been trying to make that a habit for myself. Like I said, no cardio changes, no PED changes. So the cycle that I outlined the last time in the 22 weeks out video, that's all the same. The diet did change slightly. And what he did is he just removed some of the added fats from a couple of the meals. So my carbs and protein were not changed, and then just reduced some of the oil that I was using on a couple meals. So, in total, probably like a 270 calorie drop, something like that, which should probably be more than enough just to keep things moving, especially after seeing how substantial the first round of changes were, like pretty much 3 pounds in 1 week. So with that, I'm just finishing up my kind of quad focused leg day. I do upper lower. So I'm doing 2 full lower days a week, and both of them are a little bit of everything. I say quad focus because I start this workout with my quad movements. You guys will see some of the clips. I have an extension in that I intentionally wrap a band around to try to limit the amount of raw weight that I'm using. I've just never seen extensions as like a heavy mass building type movement. I've always, it's a single joint movement, and I've always just tried to make lighter or lesser loads very, very difficult. You'll see that I have a hard, deliberate squeeze at the top, very slow, deliberate, negative And then, of course, the added band, which just makes it feel a little bit more smooth on my knees. Cybex leg press. I'm dealing with a little bit of an adductor injury, so I've, on all my like pressing movements, I've had to take more of a narrow stance. And I'm not sure, I don't know that you could tell on the video. It looks pretty similar on video, but it feels to me like in real life I'm getting a little bit less depth because I'm not able to let my knees travel outside my shoulders the way that I normally would. So I'm kind of in close with my foot stance. But normally I would train the adductor machine directly. I'm not able to right now. So then I train hamstrings. I'm not sure that I filmed that. And then I have a Smith hip thrust, which I've recently added in. I'm doing that both of my leg days because it just makes a huge difference to my glutes. I had been doing a glute bridge or hip thrust machine, and doing it on the Smith machine is just a world of a difference. So this workout for the hip thrust was much, much lighter, and I just made it a point to have like a deliberate 3 to 5 second squeeze at the top. I finished with abduction machine and then some calves, which I think I filmed. And I filmed those. They're not the most exciting exercise, but just to give you guys an idea of how I'm training my calves, where I make it a point to spend most of my time in a full stretch. And, you know, there's not much time spent contracting the muscle. With that, you guys can see the clips and let me know if you have any questions. I did ask for prep specific questions to kind of do a little Q&A segment here to kind of switch things up. So I have those questions here. The first one that I'm going to answer, someone asked, when will you typically start Proviron in a contest prep? And depending on who you're asking for it, it would depend. It depends on how advanced the person is and what the person's budget is, because Proviron is not cheap. If, you know, someone's somewhat new, or they don't have a ton of PED experience, they're not that muscular, or, you know, they're kind of just scratching by in terms of like the PED budget, you could start it as late as even 3 or 4 weeks out, and it'll make a difference. For me personally, I will probably start it at 12 weeks out. And that's for most of the guys that I coach if there's no budget restrictions. I love Proviron in contest prep. I think it has a great visual effect, and also when you understand what it is, it's essentially just pure DHT. And, you know, for lack of a better term or way of explaining it, it's just a great hardening agent when you know what DHT does compared to some of the other families of steroids. What is the target weight loss goal per week and total for the prep? So, you know, as I said, I'm down 3 pounds first week. I would expect weight loss to be pretty substantial in terms of the weekly progress early on in the prep, knowing that when you get deeper into prep and you get closer to stage condition, there's not these giant drops. Like when you're, let's say, 5 or 10 pounds away from what your stage weight is, you're not going to drop 4 pounds in 1 week leading up to that. So, you know, it kind of all averages out. I will say, in terms of total, I started, like I said, at 270, and I probably am going to end up, I would say probably at 225 or at the most 230. So probably 40 or 45 pounds that I have to lose total. And that's over the course of 22 weeks. So, you know, on average, right around 2 pounds a week, I would say. What is the best bang for your buck cardio that also won't burn off your legs in prep? So I think this depends on how developed someone's legs are. If you have really good legs, specifically really good quads, you can kind of let it rip in terms of cardio, where almost there's basically nothing you could do to where someone that has really good solidified legs is going to lose them in prep. For most people, I think the Stairmaster is the best option. Now, in terms of like being mindful of burning up someone's legs, I think that comes from a combination of things. I think the biggest culprit of that is often when we see a coach having an athlete use and then abuse thyroid medication in combination with high cardio and low food. You do all that, and it doesn't really matter what type of cardio they're doing. Someone's much more likely to lose their legs when thyroid medication is being abused in combination with high cardio duration or intensity and then just very low food. All of those things is going to bring your ability to effectively train your legs way down, and then you're at a greater risk to lose muscle at that point. So I don't necessarily think that it has much to do with what kind of cardio or what machine you're using. If it's a known thing where someone has always kind of built their legs up in the off season and then lost them in prep, I think the elliptical is probably a really good one. The bike can be good, but most people can't generate their heart rate high enough for the bike to be effective enough to get them in contest shape. So I guess my answer there would either be the stairs or the elliptical. And then this last question, this person asked, what has caused all the size progress the last 2 years for you? Keep it up. Thank you. I would say a combination of things. I would say really pushing the food more than I ever have before. I'm incredibly consistent. I don't miss meals. I get the food down no matter how poor my appetite is, whether I have to, even if I have to do shakes or whatever the case is, I always get all the food down. I enjoy training hard, and I think a change that I've made on top of training hard and just training with a lot of passion has been just training much higher volume the past couple of years, especially for priority body parts. It seems to me like the arms, the delts, the lats, the calves, certain smaller muscle groups just respond better to higher volume. And then my dirty little secret is that I've taken more PEDs the last 2 years than I ever have. So all those things combined will add a pretty considerable amount of size to you if you got everything else in order. If you're sleeping good, you keep stress low. My whole life revolves around bodybuilding. I have little to no stress. And that's just a huge change from where I was at prior to being able to coach full time while I was, working corporate jobs and needing to be at a scheduled office 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. My sleep was very poor. My stress was always very, very high. And looking back, it probably put a pretty low ceiling on what my bodybuilding potential was. And then I've kind of just blown the ceiling off of that, being able to make my own schedule. So that's everything for now, guys. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for following the prep series on the same channel here. Check out the podcast, the One More Rep podcast. I do that every Monday with Austin Brown. And until next time, I'm out.